Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. I believe it's noon where you are in Minnesota. And Kenneth Lang, we have our weekly LinkedIn event, and I'm happy to welcome Ann Pryor today. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start. Um, in 2 weeks, we're going to be moving this to a different day because of the holidays. Um, so be aware of that. I'm looking forward to a great conversation today with Ann Pryor. We're going to be talking through some of the things that she's been doing and presentations. So as we wait for people to join, first of all, welcome everyone. Put your name in the chat. Let's just see who's joining us. And I already see that, and you had mentioned, oh, George Murray beat me to it. He said, Ann Pryor is the best.
Thank you, George.
So, why don't you tell me, like we first met, if I'm not mistaken, at one of Brenda Miller's events.
We did, Kenneth. It was really nice to see you there. And I was so intrigued with you being a scrum master, an
Hmm.
introvert, and a podcast host.
Well,
So, yeah, your people probably know how that came to be, but maybe you just want to tell us just a little bit about you, and then I'm going to flip over to me.
sure. Well, I think, for me, being an introvert is something I've always been. And I think one of the advantages, if you will, of the last few years is I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of people and kind of gain a little bit of confidence as we have chats. As a scrum master, which is a term for what a lead business analyst type person is, it gave me an opportunity to build out my communication skills and my IT skills because as a developer, I'd kind of gone as far as I could. And when I left corporate, I didn't leave behind those skills, but I just felt very comfortable taking it to this step here. I think as we talked about, my both my parents were teachers. My wife's a teacher. So I look at this as just another level of teaching. Although what I really like is when people are actually engaging in the conversation because I'm still learning. And I think that's one of my things. I'm always learning now, and you never stop learning. I'm learning from you today. I'm learning from other people. And the moment you stop learning is the time that I don't get more of it, but you're always learning. So,
Right.
what,
And friends, what I like about what Kenneth said when we were off air is I asked him, what his parents did, and they were both teachers. Kenneth is a natural born teacher, and that's what he's doing for us today. And he's bringing other people to his teaching. So, Kenneth, thanks for sharing that. And I
sure.
wanted to talk a little bit about purposeful work today and how to bring that to life. But you had a couple questions for me.
Well, I guess the one question is, how did you get started with it?
Yeah.
What's because I know I kind of shared my backstory. I'd be curious to know yours.
Thanks for asking. Hey, friends. Hi, Amy and Carol, Sue, Brad. Thanks for coming today.
Yes.
My name is Ann Pryor. My grandmother Lucy was the town matchmaker. I come from a small town, Redwood Falls, Minnesota. My dad is a community banker. My mom was a school teacher, worked at the hospital, and co-founded the first food shelf in our town. So I have four brothers, and we were taught to be kind to each other, and no one was better than anyone else in our town, and to lift up and support each other.
Hmm.
Those were the foundations that I had growing up. So I just shared with you a few of my values, where I came from. So, as you're coaching people, as many of you are on this call, you're coaches, or you're looking for a job, it's really important for you to reach back, just like Kenneth and I have been talking about. Understand your values and where you come from. And hey, Kenneth, when you
Yeah.
were a kid, what did you want to be?
Well, the first thing I wanted to be is a weatherman.
Oh,
I wanted to be
why?
I wanted to be a meteorologist. Because I'm a numbers person. I'm a numbers person. I used to love to look at the temperatures. I used to collect the temperatures. That was my thing. And then from there, by the time I got to high school, I wanted to be a programmer. I loved computers. I was always a nerd. I was that person that would be in his room and love being in his room and figure things out. And two career transitions later, I finally got back into IT because life happens, and it taught me a lot. Even what I'm doing now, it's part IT techie stuff, but it's also part the writing and that stuff because that was actually what my first job was. My first job was as a writer.
Cool.
the newspaper.
Yeah, so friends, what I just did is I asked, what did he wanted to be as a kid? So that's one of the questions I ask all of my clients because when they go back to when they were a kid, a lot of times they were happy and they had aspirations. They were very intrigued. So I used to find things in the street and I'm highly intuitive. You could say I'm psychic, and I would connect what I found in the street with the people who lost them. So I really wanted to be Nancy Drew when I was a kid. I read all the books, Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, and I sort of was a sleuth. And I'm still that today. I'm a master connector. It's in my DNA. Grandma was the town matchmaker. So you can see how you can continue your life from way back when you first came in, if you will, to the job that you're doing now. And the values that you had then are the values that you want to emulate. Now we have an ego and we have an essence. And sometimes our ego gets in the way. And essence is our soul. It's really what we're here to do. So going back to soul is really important because the ego is the voice in your head that says you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough. And if you listen to that voice, you're going to be stopped. So essence is where I want to guide people to. Hey, everybody, could you pull out your phone? Because in just a minute, I taught Kenneth this morning on how to use SlideShare to bring up content from my LinkedIn profile. So I don't have to hiccup and go back and forth by sharing my screen. So I uploaded the document that I wanted to share with you today on my featured section of my LinkedIn profile. So could everybody please go to Ann Pryor, my LinkedIn profile. I have an MA behind my name for a master's, and my top that I have on is purple. If you scroll down to the featured section, Kenneth is now going to go and he's going to show the featured section of my LinkedIn profile and specifically a SlideShare doc that I want to share. And while he's doing that, and you're going to your phone, I'm teaching you now how to use these different modalities on your phone and when you perhaps speak.
So I
But
have it up here now.
yeah, it's up. It's good. So I'm going to leave this document on my featured section for 24 hours, and then I'm going to take it down because this is my thought leadership. So before I get into these four quadrants, I just want to pull through. So I came from a small town. I was the first to create a new degree at Southwest State called an interdisciplinary degree. And now 400 kids have graduated with that degree. I am a futurist and a strategist in my Strengths Finders themes, and I don't fit in a box well at all. I was in corporate America for 30 years. I opened Knott's Camp Snoopy and Mall of America, the largest theme park and entertainment center, shopping center in the United States. I was the first employee hired on that project. I got to work with Charles Schultz. After that project, I moved on to Life Touch Portrait Studios. They're owned by Shutterfly now. You know, the yearbook company. They take your
Right.
stock pictures. Yep. And then I went on to create innovation and new product programs for Carlson companies. And I created the first wellness solution that Steve Case, when he left AOL, purchased. And so I was a trailblazer in the things that I like to do. But honestly, friends, I don't like hierarchy. So I would want to go up to the top and give them my ideas and insights. But sometimes bosses were not very happy with that. What ended up happening after Steve Case bought the solution in healthcare that I created along with 250 people that I colleagued and managed, I lost my job twice in 24 months. I went to a career coach, Pat Berg. She's phenomenal. She asked me two questions that changed my life. So I ask every one of my clients these two questions, and here they are. Number one, are you self aware? Friends, I was 47 years old and I didn't even know what she meant. So for the past 10 years, I've been studying with Deepak Chopra and Don Miguel Ruiz, taking retreats to Costa Rica, studying wisdom school, and going on all kinds of silent programs to understand really who I am and what I'm here to do. So are you self-aware? The second question turned my life around, and that question is, What are people really coming to you for? So, Kenneth, when you were doing your work, what were people really coming to you for?
They were asking in some cases for advice on how to handle certain situations, um, depending on the place I worked at. Sometimes what they would ask me was a favor to do something for them. And in some ways that helped me out a lot because the more I learned about other people and their jobs, their background, the better. I was the person that would always want to do everything for everybody, which sometimes was a bad thing because you did too much, but it was the only way I would learn.
Okay, you guys, I loved what he just said. Number one, he said he overgave. That is a huge lesson that I didn't learn until I was 49. I now say, no, I don't overgive. I don't overshare. And you know what? Because sometimes I get in people's way. If I do all the stuff, they don't do it for themselves. It's a huge lesson that perhaps both of us have learned. But also, Kenneth said that people came to him for advice and insights, which is knowledge. And then they came for help, which is wisdom. So, knowledge and wisdom. So, now I'm going to segue. And people were coming to me, and I was leading huge technology solutions and envisioning new product opportunities. And people were stopping me in the hallway of my 5,000 people corporation and asking me spiritual development and personal, professional, and career development questions. I was in the wrong job. And so after I got laid off and Pat Berg asked me those two questions, I began a 6 month process of discernment. And I traveled and I was quiet and I listened and I studied and I did all the DISC profiles and the Myers Briggs and the Strengths Finders and the strong interest inventories. And I put them together in a model. And then I listened to my heart. So I'm going to now go into some thought leadership that my colleagues and I have created. And we have a 4 quadrant of personal identity model. So think about your LinkedIn profile and maybe as you're coaching. There's first of all your personal identity, your family life, where you came from, your hobbies, your interests, your volunteerisms. Then your professional identity, courses, jobs, certifications, skills, experience. And then there's your thought leadership, which is what I'm really intrigued with and what I help a lot of my clients do is bring their thought leadership to life. And your thought leadership is what are you an authority in? What do people come to you for? What do you share that others don't? What value do you add? I happen to be an expert in LinkedIn, but I'm really wanting to share more about bringing your purpose, meaning, and soul to work. And I use LinkedIn as the platform to do that. My soul's purpose, my why, is just what I said. I'm at the intersection of soul spirituality and corporate America. I had to establish myself as an expert in business before I could do this work, or it would be too woo woo, huh? Now, the last piece, as I'm 62 and I'm moving into legacy, is what do I want to be remembered for that's bigger than myself? And so that's leaving behind our thought leadership and our purpose. So this is the quadrant. And if you go to the next slide, Kenneth, I have created, actually, I was downloaded in a dream, 5 A's of activation. So in order for me to gain insight, I ask. So I ask, depending on your faith, I ask God, I'll ask Jesus, I'll ask angels and guides, I'll ask my friends, I'll ask my colleagues, my mentors, I'll ask for a connection, I'll ask for information. If you're not willing to ask, you will not receive, period. The next piece is allow messages to come in whatever form they come. You guys, sometimes I look at a license plate and I see 1111, the clock and I see 1111. So I'm activated by numbers. Hey, notice allow backwards is voila, voila, right? Wow, what a possibility. Then I accept the messages as they are and I ponder and I reflect on the message. I appreciate and I'm grateful for the connection in the message and I act on the insights and messages received. So this is my 5 A's of activation. And as you're looking at me on the screen, there's two images behind me. And I was downloaded information from my friend who passed. And I asked her to come back and share with me insights on what it's like on the other side. And she told me to drip ink on plastic and blow it with my breath. And now I'm called a master soul painter. And my brand is called Lovitude. And the pieces behind me, one is called Wishing You a Beautiful Day, and the other, the boats, are Go with the Flow. These are pieces of art that I've created, and I create art, and I've been on the Hallmark Channel. My pieces are hanging in Pulitzer Prize winner's home and Mayo Clinic. Here's what I'm telling you: be open to possibilities, and this process really works. Next slide, Kenneth. I also have created a process called the belief paradigm methodology. The next few slides are going to be questions. This document is also on my LinkedIn profile in the featured section. Within 5 minutes, I guarantee that I can turn someone around that's stuck by having them answer questions. What are their core beliefs? I believe that. Okay. So I personally believe that we're all connected. We're here to do our highest and greatest good. We need each other to do so. And what happens to you happens to me. So if I say that, I darn well better not diss you, be mean to you, talk badly about you, right? So that is a core belief that I have. So I'd like everybody to think about their core beliefs. And if you know them, put them in the chat. Next slide. These are 5 questions that I ask my clients. Number 1, what's a 3-word statement, like a bumper sticker, that people would think about you? So people think, to me, I facilitate meaningful connections. I am a bridge. I'm a bridge to spirit world and this third dimensional universe. I'm a bridge to my friends who are looking for a job. I'm a bridge to my friends who are looking for business development. Here are my 5 questions. It's just in me to want to be what? For me, it's first. I need to be the first to come out with something, or it's passé, it's done. I do it by being the best. I study it. I get knowledge around it. I go meditate about it. I read all the books about it. I talk to the gurus. So those are my 2 values. I do it for individuals. Friends, I used to be in corporate America. I could not stand the hierarchy. I do not like the executive hierarchy-ness. I have to do it for an individual. So let me ask you this question. When you volunteer, and Kenneth, you volunteered at your religious institution for the last 12 years, you said. When you did that work, who did you do it for? You're on mute.
Thank you. I did it for our community, and I do want to say, as we're going through this, look at a slide like this, and these are like perfect things to put within your about section and within what you do, because anything you do can be very transferable to other positions and other jobs, and it's very quantifiable. And that's why I happen to love, this slide specifically, because it's more than a resume.
That's right. And that's the foundation of my purposeful communication when I work with clients. Here's what I have found. I'm going to continue to grow through these and then I'll tell you some results. The
Sure.
results for me must be practical. You have to be able to do it. Actionable, I want it done, and immediate. I want in 90 minutes to turn somebody's profile into bad to best. Okay. So those are the results for me. But some people like long term results and sustainable results. So you need to understand the kinds of results that you want when you do a job. The last one is huge, friends. When complete, I feel. Do you know that 90% of people can't answer this question for me because they haven't taken time to feel or celebrate their accomplishments?
So,
This is a big deal.
and
Yeah.
I just want to put this up here. This is, I believe that most curriculum doesn't work for our diverse learners and does not encourage children's natural curiosity.
Wow, that's profound, Linda. So if we were working together, then what would we do? We would blow that out and we would understand the components of why you think that and how you might have a solution around it and how you can bring that to life in thought leadership. That's brilliant. So thanks for sharing that. So I think everybody's getting the idea here that I'm going deep in soul to ask these questions. And now let me tell you the situation or a problem. These could be incorrect. So I actually don't need to be the best anymore. I don't need to be the first anymore. I can take a step back, right? So if you don't have thoughtfulness about these questions, or if you're only doing it coming from ego and not from soul, you need to reframe. So, for instance, one of my clients realized that she didn't have a seat at the table. So, when she said, I do this for, she said she did it for enterprise systems. And in order for her to make a change in an enterprise system, she had to have influence. And in the job that she had, she didn't have influence. And so we realized that she needed a different kind of a title, different kind of messaging in order to get the influence that she wanted. So I hope this makes sense to you that this is my framework and thought leadership. And I'd love for you to try this on yourself. And then if you're a coach, feel free to try it on your clients. Let's go to the next slide. All right. This is very simple, friends. This brand stuff does not have to be complicated. So this is Lucille Ball, one of my favorites, huh? And someone asked Lucy, Lucy, why are you here? What is your soul's purpose? And she responded very quickly, I heal through humor, and I do it by being a comic. Do you see this, guys? So, very simply, I was working with a young student. She was 5 years out of college. And I said, what'd you love to do as a kid? She said, read. I'm a prolific reader. I asked her the rest of my questions. And then I said, um, what did you like about being a reader? She said, I love to know the backstory of the authors and how they got the book published. And so we wrote her profile so she could be a literary agent. And she ended up going from working at a big magazine in New York to being picked up by a literary agent because of what we wrote on her LinkedIn profile and the way she had taken her courses and repositioned herself in the project area. So, any comments on this that anybody has before I move forward?
It may take a couple of seconds or so because we have the lag here, 30 to 40 seconds. But I got to tell you, I mean, I still watch I Love Lucy all the time. I mean, that humor is something which is it's not driven by the time where we are. Funny is funny, and I think it's really. I know I can be very self-effacing about things, and I think there's a humbleness to it. Like I think we all definitely need to think and practice that. So.
That's right. So, the next slide is actually, friends, going to be about skills. And so you know how important skills are on our LinkedIn profile. And perhaps you know that on the bottom of skills, if you click on skill, they're now going to ask you which job did you have that skill at. I would like everybody to go away and put at least 10 skills in each of their experience areas, as well as the skills area. Because what I didn't tell you is I'm also a recruiter. And the more endorsements you have for skills, the more your LinkedIn profile comes up high in search for us recruiters. So I really want you to think about the skills you had when you first started off, meaning maybe high school, college, the skills you have in mid career, and the skills you have now. And I guarantee you progressed. And like Kenneth did, family was teachers. He always was a teacher. A Scrum guy is a teacher, and he's teaching now. So those skills are transferable, as he said. and they're going to pull through. But I really want you to start thinking about the 10 skills that you really want to embrace. The next slide is going to be about your subject matter expertise, which is SME. Okay, I ask my clients, what do people seek you out for? And what do people come to you for? And that's how I can fine tune the subject matter expertise back to those two questions. So, friends, when I first started out in my career, I was really an expert in putting together partnerships. I created over $1 billion of savings and value add when I was at LifeTouch, putting together partnerships to sell different kinds of products. When I put together those partnerships, it was also about building relationships and negotiating and contract management and design, right? And project management and new production. And when I moved into my next job, it was more about envisioning and leadership in creating new kinds of products for Carlson companies. And then I moved into career coaching, which is an integration. And I tapped into my intuition more. And I asked, I'm just going to say, my God, my spirits, my guides, my soul, to bring me more insight. And so I went from those hard skills to more interpersonal soft skills. And here's the deal, I'm now at a place where I want to integrate my skills and teach how to bring your soul to work. Let's go to the next slide.
I was going to say first, everyone here can call themselves a problem solver. Everyone here can call themselves certain things. It's not just a job driven thing. And I think that's one of the big mistakes that people make. Okay, next slide.
Exactly. So, friends, here's how I bring it all together. I love flowers. In the middle of this flower would be your brand. The 5 petals would be the answers to the questions that I asked. At the top is your belief statement. On the far left are your skills. On the far right is your subject matter expertise. Here's where you can connect the dots. The very bottom would be your values. Okay. Now, I also live a portfolio career life. I have 5 jobs. I have 5 revenue streams. So one of my petals is taking clients one-on-one. I charge $795 for a 90-minute working session to rebuild a profile. My next petal is where I do speaking engagements for $5,000 to $10,000, depending on the group. My next petal is I teach sales teams, marketing teams, HR teams, how to use LinkedIn, how to build their brand, LinkedIn boot camps. Okay. So that's the same, $5,000 to $10,000. My other pedal is I take care of my 92-year-old parents. So that's family caregiving. I'm keeping them in their own homes. I have 4 brothers. They're moderately helpful. I love my brothers, but honestly, gals, you understand what I'm saying, right? Okay. So every Friday, Saturday, I go down 2 hours away from my home and take care of my parents. The top pedal is where I do my artwork 1 day a week. So here are my 5 days a week. Here's how I separate my time, and I have revenue streams. I also have a pedal with partnerships where I provide partners and they provide me back a revenue stream for referrals back and forth. Okay.
I would also say that this is a great thing for a background picture on LinkedIn. The artwork that's there, it's another way to kind of talk about what you do and can do. Maybe not exactly this way. So I happen to love something like that.
Perfect. Thank you, Kenneth. And as we go to the next slide, which you guys can also see on my LinkedIn profile, you can be flipping through the featured section, right? So here's my hot air balloon approach to LinkedIn. Get up, right? So schedule a time early in the morning to start your day. So I'm on LinkedIn every morning at 7 o'clock. I post, I like, I comment, I share, I wish people happy birthday. I call it giving away free hugs. That's how I start my day because I think LinkedIn is a huge party. Oh, and by the way, I love to hot air balloon because I love to see 8,000 feet above the ground and the big picture, right? And it's so quiet. If you've never hot air ballooned, I'm going to give you an assignment to go out and try it. Show up, get in the game, right? Kenneth, good for you as an introvert who's a scrum master. Are you kidding me? He started his own blog post and now opportunity. My friend George Murray is on this call, and has written a book called Get Hired Faster. George Murray, if you could put your link in the chat, please. And so, George, thank you and good luck. George has written a second book. He's on this call. He has shown up. He's in the game as well. Look up, guys. See what's going on. Brenda, it's so good to see you. Brenda's got sessions frequently. She teaches fabulous classes. Please, everyone, connect with Brenda as well. Brenda's book is really a life turner. It's Brenda, what's the name of your book?
Social media pie.
Yeah, social media pie, and she loves pie, and I love French silk pie and cherry pie.
I'm going to hold it up here.
Oh, thanks a lot. Good. Social media pie. Everybody, connect with Brenda and pick up her book. Download it. It's awesome and it's timeless, and she's got resources in the back that are tremendous. Stand up, right? Create your thought leadership and share it with others. Grow up. Continue to learn, as Kenneth said. Take courses. LinkedIn Learning is awesome. And you can get free LinkedIn Learning from your local library. Okay? It's lynda.com, Lynda. It's free learning. Suck up, right? Bend over for people. Give them opportunities to shout them out, right? Shut up. Sometimes we overtalk, and that's lack of self-awareness, right? So there's a balance on LinkedIn. One of the things I'm finding interesting, you experts on this call, I've gotten called 3 times in the last month to coach employees on how to shut up. And so maybe someone could write a blog post on that. Brenda, you've got excellent marketing skills from your background. And some people are over talking, over sharing, and the companies are getting nervous about this. Lift up, right? Give people praise. I love Kenneth's point of view. It's on his tagline, always positive and always learning. And in taking care of my parents over the past 3 years and my uncle in a nursing home 3 years previous to that, I use a methodology that I call positive reassurance. And so it's really important to let people know they're on the right track, they're doing great, everything's going to work out just fine. So positive reassurance is my new mantra. Last one is buckle up, right? Stay positive and enjoy the ride, because you have no idea what's going to happen to you once you get out here on LinkedIn, start showing up. And I can attest to that, as the next slide will show, that what happened to me is I was found on LinkedIn by an old former colleague that is at Hallmark, and she engaged me, and I was featured on the Hallmark channel for millions of people with Cameron Matheson. Oh my gosh, he's such a nice guy. If you don't know Cameron Matheson, I used to watch him when I was younger on All My Children. And now he's, of course, on the Hallmark family shows, and love it. And the next slide is coming in just a second.
Oh, sure.
And so amazing things have happened to me because of how I'm showing up, how I talk on LinkedIn, how I'm encouraging people like you guys are on this call. And my business partner and friend and I have been on International Association of Near-Death Studies. We recently have a 7-part series that we're selling on the Shift Network. It's about unblocking your creativity for healing and transformation. And you can go to the top part of my LinkedIn profile, and there's a new link there on the top part of your LinkedIn profile. Pick up my business partner's book, When Paradise Speaks. It's an amazing story of how I was downloaded insight from our friend who passed over. And I painted more than 4,000 Lovitude Soul paintings. And all of the proceeds go to charities. And so this year, friends, I'm trying to ask if you could help donate your PCs and phones to a company called PCs for People, which is in the Midwest, but you have your own locations. So donate your computers, they get refurbished. And last year we donated 32,000 computers to our homeless friends and friends in need in the Twin Cities area. And I personally handed out 500 computers, and it was the most rewarding day of my life. So I would love to take questions, comments. Anybody that's on this call, Brenda, George, Kenneth, our other
Well,
friends who are
I'm going to say
experts.
one thing, that if there's a life lesson, you don't know everything. None of us know everything. If you don't know, ask. There's something to be said for having the ability and the vulnerability to know you don't know everything and trying to be that person that thinks they know it, because you'll be found out.
I love that, Kenneth. That's really helpful. You know, Brenda asks people, Brenda Muller on the call here, she asks people in her network for questions and she gives free insight and information on a weekly basis. Those questions are really helpful. And 7:33 to 8:33 a.m. Central Time, I also take free calls via phone for people. So you can find that information on my profile. Kenneth, did we have a question?
Well, just an observation, Brad Schiff, and we all talk about this amongst ourselves. We're all very supportive of each other. We actually, because we also believe in comparing notes and sharing experiences. It makes all of us better. I think that's so important. And now that everything is coming in, of course. Are you are you in those paintings in your background? They're beautiful.
Those are my paintings and they're available on my LinkedIn profile. Yes. So thank you very much. They're energy from spirit.
So one of my work superpowers is knowing who to ask, and that's a very very good point, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. That's a master connector, isn't it?
All right, George, what would be the first step if you're wanting to jump from corporate America to your five income stream end goal to have more control in your life? I mean, I'll speak. When I left corporate to do what I'm doing now, I thought for a long time before I was doing it and had a plan. And the first step is to try things out while you're working, because once you're not working, it can be very challenging. That's just my perspective. What about you?
Well, that's a real good point. Try things out. One of the first things that I did was listen to what people were coming to me for.
Hmm.
And then I'm an I'm a really good packager. I'm just going to share that. I have learned to listen and then put together an opportunity for somebody to actually buy the service.
Hmm.
So it's important, George, if you're first starting out, it would be to understand what makes your soul sing and who you want to serve, right? So the skills that you have that you want to continue to repurpose, how do you want to use those skills? Who do you want to use them for? And how are you going to get paid? So if we're still in this business of having to make money, we have to follow the money. So George knows this, but I also work for the state of Minnesota for a nonprofit organization, and I get funding through them to support our dislocated workers. So every state has deed dislocated workers, your economic development department. And so they have people like me that they subcontract to do that work. So I have found different pockets to follow the money because oftentimes job seekers can't pay. So I have found other opportunities to get funding because I give away about 64,000 hours worth of free services over the last few years. That's a lot of revenue to give away. And I volunteer for organizations that I can really lift up. And right now, I'm doing it for our homeless friends, our friends in our gay lesbian friends that are homeless, and then people who need computers.
Okay, how do you go from free to charging and a fee? Or do you discount early and raise the price?
No, I don't discount. I don't discount. And what that's a really good question, right?
Hmm.
So, George, you have to be known as the expert that you are in that respective space. So, here's one caveat to what I just said. I started free in speaking to church organizations and other nonprofit groups. And Those folks I will speak at no charge. And then associations and corporate associations, I'll ask if they have an honorarium. And the honorarium, then I'll donate to my charities. But corporate, I always charge. So there has to be a benefit to the corporations because they have the funding. And I'm going to be really frank. It's the sales and marketing people in corporations that have funding because HR does not.
So, Joey is asking for a friend who is an author how a new author can use LinkedIn. And I know,
Okay, George, I want you to take this call offline with Joey, please. So, Joey, could you please connect with George Murray? He has a best-selling book. He's an award-winning author. I'd also like Brenda to be able to handle this offline as well. So,
sure,
Joey, great question, and
yes.
have your friend ask. Okay, so get out of the way, Joey, unless you want to learn and get your friend in it.
I think one of the challenges a lot of us have is is pay versus free for our time and services. I think everyone you have to know what your worth is. And I think a lot of us we pay it forward and put content on LinkedIn, but there has to be a balance there, and that's one of the first things I always recommend to people getting started. You have to, like you said, know your worth, be willing to accept it. That's your worth, and if they're not interested, they're not interested. You don't want
Right.
to you don't want to discount yourself.
If Brenda has a quick comment on this, that would be helpful too, because she gives
Sure.
a lot of free advice away, and I know she's got all kinds of fabulous courses. And if and I'd like everybody to sign up for her newsletter and her process as well. So Brenda, can you put that in the chat? Um, and whoever else is on the call, and if you have those kinds of services, please put it in the chat for these people. But one of the things I wanted to share, you guys, when I left corporate America, I made 30% less than when I left corporate America. And that was in 2008. And what I decided to do is create a strategy where I wanted to make at least $500 a day. So I had a goal to create that much revenue. And then over the years, now my goal is to make at least $5,000 a day. Did you hear that? $5,000 a day. And in order to do that, then I have to have partners where I have referral and revenue streams to do that, where I make money when I sleep on my licensing programs. Okay. So,
So again, I'm gonna answer this also for Patricia Brown about the services by dislocated workers. I know in New Jersey we have all different programs that are done through all the different counties. I know the first presentation I did was for a group of displaced homemakers, actually, which was um, an all-in-one for women and even men who were out of the workforce for such a long time and really didn't know where to get started. And they knew about me from LinkedIn, the one who ran the program. We had a couple of conversations, and I just felt it was part of like just sharing the knowledge. I did get an honorarium for it, but back then it was more about the exposure, for sure. So Brenda asked, she started charging for her webinars this year. Um, and again, you want free, and I agree totally with Brenda. Look at my LinkedIn posts and check out. We all give a lot of free stuff away, but the challenge is this. I mean, you want to be able to trust someone, whether it's you or me or someone else, with not only the knowledge and experience, but you want to have a trusted person, and not everyone can do that. Totally understand that. It's really that's why we do a lot of what we do. But I want to also now be respectful of the time, as it's about a quarter to two our time, quarter to 11, rather 1 your time. I want to thank everyone for attending today. A bit of an apology. Dealing with another issue with my sinuses, which will eventually get rectified. It's life. Have a great day, everyone. Next week we have Donna Hook, and then we're going to have a reschedule due to the Jewish holidays. And I'm going to end with this. Our Jewish holidays are about giving and wishing everyone a happy and healthy new year. And we all pay it forward, and we all look for ways that we can help out. So I want to wish everyone a great fall, great everything, and checking back with you next week. Thanks, everyone, for attending.
thank you. Thank you, Kenneth, for hosting me.